Hello and welcome to South Carolina's installment of Farm Bureau's Voices of Agriculture. I'm your host, Reggie Hall. With the winter holiday season approaching, many people start to think about turkey, the domestic kind, the frozen ones from the grocery store. We'll tell you about those and we'll cook one up for you during this episode as well. But we'll also go to the National Wild Turkey Federation to learn a whole nother bird, a whole nother turkey, and find out the uniqueness about those birds and the work the National Wild Turkey Federation is doing to conserve the outdoors. All that and more as we talk turkey when Farm Bureau's Voices of Agriculture continues. Hello and welcome back to South Carolina's installment of Farm Bureau's Voices of Agriculture. I'm your host, Reggie Hall. The National Wild Turkey Federation, or NWTF, is located just about 30 miles north of Augusta, Georgia, in Edgefield, South Carolina. The NWTF has a lot in common with Farm Bureau. Both are grassroots membership organizations, both work to educate their members about their missions and purposes, and both call on their members to help policymakers understand the importance of protecting and preserving the great outdoors. And don't be mistaken by their name, the National Wild Turkey Federation, with 230,000 members across North America, is involved in much more than just preserving the wild turkey. A major focus of the NWTF is to attract young people and to educate them about the role of hunters and outdoors people and the role they play in conservation. George Thornton is the organization's CEO.
We think the youth are everything. We are shifting our emphasis somewhat with the successful reestablishment of the wild turkey to focus more on what we call the hunting heritage side of our mission. And hunting heritage is really about recruitment of new hunters, principally young people, but people, maybe middle-aged people, young adults from urban environments and suburban environments who have not had a chance to grow up in a family that was outdoors. And if we're going to have an educated public that can appreciate our national and state parks, can appreciate private woodlands, and can make decisions that will influence public policy going forward, then we've got to find a way to get them outside at an early age. They don't have to be hunters. They may be hikers, they may be bird watchers, they may be campers, they may be rock climbers. But one of our primary objectives is to get young people out so they understand the glory of this wonderful resource that we have.
In addition to running outreach programs across the country for young people, called the JAKE program, the NWTF also designs programs especially for the disabled and for women. Teresa Carroll is the program coordinator for the Women and Outdoors program.
Ladies will come for a day or a weekend. It's mostly a daily event, and there will be a multiple array of classes for them to choose from, anything from archery to shotgunning, kayaking, canoeing, that sort of thing, and they rotate through these classes. So a lot of women either come and enjoy a sport that they're already interested in or try something new, which we always like that part.
Now that the turkey population has been reestablished across the country, the NWTF spends a lot of its time on conservation efforts.
We have a new generation obviously coming around that we want to introduce the hunting sport to them, and even if they don't move forward to become hunters, as long as they understand the role that hunting plays in conservation, and that speaks for all of our outreach programs. That's what we want to do. Or I would encourage people of all ages to get involved. Our youth program, of course, is 17 and younger. Our women's program is 14 and older for ladies. But one of the things that continues to amaze me and inspire me, I think, is seeing older ladies get out and get involved and not allowing their comfort zone to kind of keep them boxed into trying something new. So that's one of the things that I like. I also like the fact that people like the lady that I mentioned, she's wanting to get involved in hunting. So you're never too old to try something new.
The National Wild Turkey Federation was founded in 1973 by a few people who recognized the turkey population had declined to near extinction. Immediate efforts began by those early founders to restore habitat and to repopulate the country with the wild game.
And there's a great historical basis for that being our brand, and that is the wild turkey was almost extinct by the 1930s. And had there been an Endangered Species Act at that time, it certainly would have been on it. And that was due to deforestation, urbanization, market hunters, all that type of thing. Poor or no game laws would have been another reason. The Turkey Federation was formed in 1973 and initiated a trap and transfer program in the early 80s. And that program has actually trapped and relocated 200,000 turkeys around North America. And through that program of putting breeding animals in virtually every niche, every habitat niche, we have turkey populations of over 7 million now, about the same level that it was at the time of discovery. The important thing about the turkey is it's a symbol for a healthy habitat. If you have wild turkeys on your property, then you know you're doing the right thing for quail, for songbirds, for white-tailed deer, for foxes, for bunny rabbits. So it's a great symbol that we like to honor.
NWTF biologist Dr. James Earl Kennener has been with the organization for more than 30 years and has witnessed the national population grow from almost no turkeys to a wild turkey population in almost every state. And even though the population is back to where it was when turkeys were first discovered, challenges remain.
The challenges the wild turkeys facing across the country is habitat loss. That's the biggest and major thing. We have pretty well put turkeys in all the places that will support wild turkeys. In the east in particular, there are a few places still in the west. But when you're looking at the expansion of communities, looking at getting into the urban interface, if you will, it really restricts a lot of things you can do from management like prescribed burning. This is where some of the wildfires that we read about all the time occur. It's because people are living out in the habitat, and that's the biggest thing that's facing not only wild turkeys, but really wildlife in general. Right.
And as we pointed out earlier in the show, there are a lot of similarities between the National Wild Turkey Federation and the Farm Bureau Federation, including the fact that the vast majority of wildlife habitat is managed by farmers.
The majority of all the wildlife that we have in this country is found on private lands, whether it's on farms or hobby farms or state and federal land. So, you know, you really have to look at the total picture of where this land is, but in the future of wildlife in this country is dependent upon farmers, particularly in how they deal with their lands and what's going to provide for wildlife along with the commodity that they may be trying to manage.
Farmers are the true stewards of the land. I also believe that hunters are the true conservationists of the land. But farmers own their land, they work their land, they have to be good stewardships because they're really leaseholders, if you will, for the future generations. And I've never met a farmer who wasn't deeply passionate about the health of his fields and his forest and his streams. And if they're doing the right things to manage erosion control and put in fallow crops, etc., then they're doing a lot of good things for conservation as well.
Now that we've got the restoration of the wild turkey basically finished, we've got to now work to maintain all of this success. If we take it for granted, we're going to lose it. And so looking at hunter access, preserving habitats for the future, maintaining an opportunity for people to be able to go manage this land and to keep it in a state where we'll have good wildlife values, good timber harvest, good timber management, so that we've got the timber industry for the future. So the actual farmers and the people will lay a major role in making sure that we have that for the future. It's imperative that we do that.
When we continue, we'll take you on a tour of one of the nation's largest and best managed turkey museums. We'll also deep fry a domestic bird without any oil, and we'll introduce you to one of South Carolina's young turkey producers. All that and more when Farm Bureau's Voices of Agriculture continues. Hello and welcome back to South Carolina's installment of Farm Bureau's Voices of Agriculture. I'm your host, Reggie Hall from the South Carolina Farm Bureau Federation. We're talking turkey, domestic and wild, during this episode and hope that you'll learn something about both. While at the National Wild Turkey Federation headquarters in Edgefield, South Carolina, we met Christine Rolka, their Director of Education. She reminded us of yet another similarity between the NWTF and Farm Bureau. The NWTF educational programs are very similar in nature to Farm Bureau's Ag in the Classroom program.
We have programs geared to schools for K through 12. We're aware of what their curriculum needs are, and we've managed to tailor our programs to address those curriculum needs while they're here. So this is a very entertaining place to be, but it's also a very educational place to be. We also educate educators so that they can then go back into their classrooms, their own museums, nature centers, or visitor centers, and offer some of the same types of programming that we do. One of the wonderful things about the wild turkey is they're now in every single state except one, so they're very relevant, not just here, but to other states and areas across the country. For adult visitors, we offer a wonderful guided tour if they request one, and we always recommend it. There's nothing like a guided tour through the museum, but they're also welcome to walk through on their own and enjoy it as well, and to explore our trail system outside too.
That trail system is part of a 100-acre outdoor education center. Inside the NWTF headquarters, just off I-20 north of Augusta, Georgia, you'll find the 7,200 square foot Winchester Museum that greets more than 10,000 visitors a year. The museum also has a presence at the Virginia Museum of Natural History in the Living Off the Land exhibit.
Welcome to the Winchester Museum. This is where we bring school groups, visitor groups of all ages, and probably the first distinction we make is between wild and domestic turkeys. The wild is a totally different guy. There are 5 subspecies, and we talk to visitors about the differences between each of them. These are actually gobbling listen cones. Visitors of all ages enjoy these. You hear the gobble? This is a Bell Jet Ranger helicopter, and what visitors can do, they could actually experience a prescribed burn flight mission on this.
If you like the great outdoors and want to know more about the wild turkey, I invite you to stop by the Wild Turkey Complex in Edgefield, South Carolina. I guarantee you'll walk away learning something new. If you can't make it to South Carolina, log on to their website, nwtf.org, to learn more about membership, outreach programs, and more. Stay tuned, because when we come back, we'll go into the kitchen and fry up a domestic turkey without using oil. And we'll introduce you to a young domestic turkey grower. All that and more when South Carolina's installment of Farm Bureau's Voices of Agriculture continues. Hello and welcome back to South Carolina's installment of Farm Bureau's Voices of Agriculture. I'm your host, Reggie Hall. We're in the kitchen today preparing our turkey for the deep oilless fryer. But before we can cook it, we've got to prepare it. So let's walk through some steps. Here we've got a fresh turkey, never frozen, and we're going to use our kitchen shears to open up the plastic around the turkey. We've got the giblets that are packaged right here. They're usually inside the bird, but they're not at this instance. So we'll pull those out and save those for later in case we want to make a gravy or something like that. So we've got the plastic off now. I'm going to throw that away in our trash can. And then this bird also has its legs tied. So we're going to undo those so that we can get into the middle of this bird. We're going to pull this out. That just locks it down. We'll take that off. And what we want to do now is rinse off this turkey with cool water. Neck bones, so we'll take that out and put it away as well. A few extra pieces of fat. And then I'll put that bird right here on the pan and let it dry, drip dry a little bit. And in the meantime, what I'll do, I'll grab a disinfecting towel and I will wash my hands with that. Also the handle and anything that might have come in contact with that turkey. Okay, the next move we want to make is to get several paper towel and start drying the turkey off. Just pat it dry. And every little nook and cranny that you can find to dry would be good. Okay, so now we've got him dried off and drained. So what we want to do next is take our spray oil. In this case I'm using canola oil, and I find it's a lot easier to use the spray than it is to rub oil on. So I'll just give it a good coat of oil, and this helps keep the turkey from burning when it goes into the oilless fryer. And again, you see I'm touching this turkey and I'm also touching this can, so I'm going to have to make sure that I either throw the can away afterwards or disinfect it real well. I want to keep it in the sink. Get some more paper towel, wipe my hands of all that turkey juice and oil, and then I'll disinfect my hands one more time with the disinfectant wipe. Now, you could just go with the turkey like it is, but I like a little seasoning on the outside. So with that, I will use a little bit of all-purpose seasoning. It's got a little bit of garlic and onion and rosemary and thyme and some chilies in it. So we'll just sprinkle that on the bird pretty liberally. I like to rub it in real good first on this side. Just get it all over. And then I'll flip him and sprinkle the other side. Okay, now it's ready to put in the basket before we go out to the fryer. But first we've got to go out and light the fryer and make sure that it's all heated up for us. This is an oilless turkey fryer. It's called the Big Easy, and it's really well named because it is certainly very easy. You can see the brown or black on there. That's because I spray it with oil before I get started every time, just to make sure it's got a good coating all the way around. It's sort of like grandma's skillet. So we've got our propane tank on, and it's, again, the Big Easy. We'll go from off to on, flip the igniter switch, and it's already ignited. So while that's warming up, we'll go inside back to the turkey and get the basket that it sits in, put it in the basket, and then we'll come out and put it in the deep fryer. Our bird that we just prepared is 12.5 pounds, so we'll cook it for 10 pounds a minute, rather 10 minutes a pound, and till it's 165 degrees at the deepest part in the breast without touching the bone. So we'll figure on that lasting about probably 2 hours, just a little over 2 hours when we'll check it. But let's go inside now and put it in the basket and bring it back out. This can be the tricky part. It's best if you put it legs down, wings up, when you get ready to put it in the basket. So let's see if we can get it done the first time. Sometimes it's a little tricky to get it in there just right. It looks like we made it pretty well. I'm going to sit it back here on this pan. So here we are with our prepared turkey. Got our dry rub on there after putting a little canola oil on it, spraying that on there, and we just drop this basket down into the cauldron, just like that. And we'll let it be for about a little over 2 hours, since that's a 12.5 pound turkey. While we're waiting on the turkey to cook, let's introduce you to poultry grower Justin Setzler, third generation family farmer. By the way, South Carolina is in the top 10 turkey producing states in the country and has one county, Kershaw, which is in the top 10 turkey producing counties in the country. When it comes to agriculture and livestock specifically, there are a lot of misconceptions about how our food is grown or raised. In many ways, family farmers like Justin are just like any other business owner. They try to make more than they put into their business, and they do all they can to protect their investment in order to realize a larger return. In addition to adhering to state and federal health regulations, the Setzler farm has put its own system of checks and balances in to make sure their birds are healthy.
We're out here every day, like I say, you know, making sure that we raise a good quality bird, that you know, that's a farmer's responsibility, is you know, that's why, I mean, we farm to provide food on the table for, you know, for America. And like I say, you know, it's our responsibility to make sure that food is safe. And while they're on our farm, we're going to do everything we can to ensure a safe product. These birds here are in a house, obviously, and they've got all they want in that house. They're safe from anything on, you know, if they were free range, I mean, you'd have to worry about predators, you know, bad weather, anything like that. I mean, we've got those houses set up that, I mean, that's total bird comfort in there. I mean, they're just relaxing, they just eat, they sleep, you know, they drink, they chill.
Not only does Justin walk through his poultry houses every day, he is also wired into the poultry houses so he can monitor the bird's progress at any time of the day or night. If something goes wrong, his phone rings.
You know, if you lose power on the place, you'll get a phone call. If you have, you know, low water pressure or anything like that, you'll get a phone call. If the temperature gets too warm in there or too cold in there, you'll get a phone call. So that's to ensure, you know, the comfort of the birds, of course.
If the birds aren't tended to properly and are stressed, they don't grow as much, and the return on the grower's investment drops considerably.
Yeah, animal welfare is going to result from genuine concern for the animal, but also, like I said, if you're not caring for your animal, they're not going to perform to the best of their ability. So, I mean, we're not going to make as much money if we're not caring for them the best we can. So.
The Setzler farm has 8 turkey houses that keep about 7,000 birds each for a total of 56,000 turkeys at a time. They grow the birds out, which means they receive the turkeys when they're about 5.5 weeks old. They nurture them until they're about 20 weeks old before their contractor picks them up. Each turkey at that point will be about 40 pounds. A common misconception I hear frequently about poultry is the belief that farmers inject their poultry with hormones. Nothing could be further from the truth. All turkeys are hormone and steroid free. The larger poultry you see in the grocery stores today is a result of the genetic or breeding improvements, better feed formulation, and modern management practices like those used by Setzler farms. There are no hormones approved for use in poultry. Well, let's look in on our bird and see how it's cooking. Of course, food safety is very important when you're cooking turkey. We want to make sure that the inside of the turkey is at least 165 degrees. So we want to stick the thermometer into the thickest part of the bird, let it sit right there and watch it come around to temperature. You don't want the thermometer touching the bone, just in the densest part of the meat. And on up to 165, so we're in good shape. That turkey is done, if not just a little bit too much. I'm sure it'll be tasty though. You grab the metal hook, lift the basket up, put it on a container to carry it inside, and that's our beautiful oilless deep fried turkey. It couldn't be any easier. Hello and welcome back to South Carolina's installment of Voices of Agriculture. I'm your host, Reggie Hall. During our last break, we rang the dinner bell, and who showed up but the promotion and education staff from the South Carolina Farm Bureau Federation. We're going to enjoy this wonderful holiday bounty that we've got provided for us, the turkey that we fried earlier and all the fixins. And in fact, that's what holidays are all about, spending great time with family and friends. We hope you enjoy the same with yours during this holiday. Good. Well, that's all the time we have for South Carolina's installment of Farm Bureau's Voices of Agriculture. We hope you've learned something about domestic and wild turkeys during our program. If you'd like to see this show again or learn more about the people and places we visited, log on to our website, scfb.org. We also hope that you'll thank the good Lord for all your blessings. Until next time, I'm your host, Reggie Hall. Thanks for watching.